What did you just say?
That I'm bringing the kids to my mom because she wants to see them.
You're not bringing no kids to your mom. You're not bringing the kids over. Do you want the kids around somebody that talks poorly about their mother all the time?
All right, so the caption on this video says, "Mom leaves husband with kids." Interesting video. I really want to make sure you guys are following along here. So I'm actually going to start from the beginning one more time so you can see the interactions going on here.
Everything's going to be solved. But, she wants to see them. She misses them.
She doesn't get that. She doesn't get that privilege. She doesn't get that privilege anymore. She doesn't get that privilege anymore. You either put her
in her grandkids.
Poor excuse of a grandmother for her to even call them her grandkids. That's hilarious. You either put her in her place. Or you just cut her off completely. That's if you care about your family.
I am putting her in her place.
You are putting her in her place?
Yeah, I'm not letting her come over here.
Jaime, you know what? I'm just going to take the kids and I'm going to go. When you figure...
Where are you going to go? What are you talking about?
Don't worry about it.
Wait, hold on. The caption on this post says, "Mom leaves husband with kids." That's what it says. She says she's going to take the kids. Right? So I don't know if the caption was wrong.
You're not going anywhere with my kids.
With your kids.
That's what happens when you marry a mama's boy. I don't understand how some husbands allow their mom to speak poorly about their wife, the mother of their children, and think it's okay. Would you let someone speak poorly about your son or daughter or about yourself? So why do you allow family to do that in front of your kids? Honestly, be so for real.
Huh. What do you guys think of this video so far? I'll start here. First off, things are tough. And I think I'm really fortunate that there are good relationships when it comes to like mother-in-laws, father-in-laws within my marriage. And I've heard some horrible stories, right? Some very challenging stories that are kind of hard to place on trying to navigate what you would do in that particular situation. And so first, I just want to acknowledge that not every relationship and family, when they try to blend together after marriage, is ever easy. But here's what I find ironic about this whole situation. Hear me out. She's complaining that her husband's mother, right, her mother-in-law, talks negatively about her. I don't know if it's to the kids, but talks negatively about her. Let's say worst case scenario, it's to the kids. That's the complaint here. What I think is ironic is here she is on a public platform. Because it's one thing if this, you're having drama within your household. People usually have things that go on within their household. No family's perfect out here. We all have our flaw. But now you're on TikTok talking badly about your mother-in-law to the rest of the world. And so typically I would look at this situation and say, that's a tough situation, and just, move on if I heard it outside of TikTok. But the fact that she's recording herself and their interaction they're having here and posts it online. Are you guys following me? If you disagree, please let me know. But the fact that she's doing that publicly online, it makes me think that she's just as bad. If we assume that the mother-in-law does in fact talk shit and the husband didn't say, hey, no, she doesn't talk shit, you're the problem. No, it sounds like there might be some truth to what the mother's saying right there. But how are you on here doing the exact same thing? This lets me know that two people who are kind of willing to push the lines met their match. And so in conclusion, I'll say this. If you and your wife typically, and this is my stance, don't have any issues with each other, and your mother is the problem in your marriage, then yes, I do believe that she needs to be the one that has to be checked. But this right here also needs to be checked as well. This right here. And yes, she might be fed up. Yes, she might have viewed this as an emotional moment where she acted out of character, but this shouldn't be a resort or even a last resort to reach out to people on TikTok who's just going to tell you to explode your marriage, break your family, traumatize your kids, so on and so forth, right? I don't think mothers should have too much say in your relationship. I think people should stay out of your marriage. I think a lot of marriages are ruined that way on both ends. You can have people from your wife's end who have things to say, how they think things should be dealt with within your marriage. I think those people need to know very clearly that they need to respect that, and there needs to be consequences, which could be sometimes that you're not going to get to see us as much if you cross these boundaries, so on and so forth. Maybe that's because I approach things from the biblical perspective of when a daughter leaves her family, a man leaves his family, they leave, they become one. Some men out here, you're never going to clip them away from their mothers. To me, that never makes sense, right? Read a few comments here. Top comment says, I agree with her. He needs to put his wife first. Somebody else who says she is not wrong. Here's another woman who says he should go marry his mom. Somebody else here added, I agree with her. And I think part of this too is it seems like there is this pattern of mothers, wives not having a good relationship with their mother-in-law. We're going to read quite a bit of comments here. This one says, she set her boundaries. Somebody else here added, my dad went to war with his family over my mom. Yeah. And this says, and my grandma, in parentheses, dad's mom, loved my mom, called her her own daughter. It was my aunt who said something, and my dad tore into my aunt. Somebody else here added on to that thread and said, my man would too, and kind of has. His family wasn't happy I got pregnant pretty quick, but he put them in their place and nothing was ever said again. You do need to do that once in a while. And that's for anybody, man. You know, a lot of these people will try to tell you how your relationship needs to be ran and try to overstep, and they'll see how much they can push. No, no. You're going to upset them, right? You're going to upset somebody is what I really want to say. And the last person you want to be at odds with is the person who you said you're going to stick with till death do you part. And that's your significant other. Somebody else who says, y'all would never understand until you have a terrible mother-in-law. Mommy's boy. Here's somebody else who says, Sarah Silverman from School of Rock. They think she looks like somebody. What else do we have here? A question you have to ask yourself, are you marrying your wife or your mom? Yeah. I know I'm going to get some guys who are probably going to disagree with this, but I know there are a lot of dudes out here who are too attached to their mothers. There are a lot of guys out here who are too attached to their mothers, and they allow them to make just huge decisions in their lives or to influence their family. And at some point, you got to put that foot down. Now, again, people, I think that it's crazy that she's on here exposing her mother-in-law on TikTok like this, and also her family business on TikTok. You know, to me, that's kind of strange. Maybe there's more to this situation and stories as well, but I do think this is kind of strange. All right. Why come to TikTok? The only solutions the TikTok has out here is leave them. Once in a while, you may get some good advice, but it's usually leave them. It's not worth it. Break up your family, so on and so forth. And whenever I see a wife get online and complain, it's always followed by some type of like a teary-eyed, I think we're going to get divorced style video. I don't know, man. People just need to stay off the internet with their family business. It makes no sense. What else do we have here? This person says, I agree with the wife because I grew up seeing my mom go through this too. My grandma disliked my mom for no reason and sometimes would talk badly about her in front of me when I was a kid. Yes. Even when they're wrong, you have to show the people around you that your family is your unit, right? That those are the people who you're going to stick to, even when they're wrong sometimes. And your wife should also respect that. She shouldn't sit there and side with other people and talk shit about you behind your back. No. She should check other people and say, hey, you're not going to speak like that about my husband. And if she disagrees with you, you know, you want to get to the point where you guys can have those conversations. But when you're dealing with other people, family comes first, always. Somebody else who says, I just recently had a debacle with my mother-in-law. It was solved. But my fiance was definitely ride or die with me and said he stood behind me 100%, didn't even question it. Let's see what else we have. This says, that's a future single mom right there. Last time my dad did this, I went to his mom's and she poisoned me to get back at what? to get back at mom. Now, there's some evil people in this world. I feel like after that one, it's time to move on to the next topic. We gotta move on. Moving on.